Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fab Four podcast, brought to you by Hatcher Auto Sales out on the new Lebanon Road. Old Daniel and Danny Hatcher will be glad to fix you up on a wrecked vehicle, or you rebuilt, reconditioned, however you want to say that. They've usually work into some of the higher end GMC Chevrolet models and do a great job out there. Again, that's Hatcher Auto Sales out on the new Lebanon Road, just outside of Campbellsville. Tonight we've got a great guest, been around Taylor County all of his life. He's now migrated a little away from Taylor County, so to speak, but still stays in touch, stays close to Taylor County and all things Taylor County. And tonight we'd like to welcome Jeremy Taylor to the podcast. Jeremy, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Coach. Thanks for having me. Glad to join you guys, talk shop for a little bit this evening, and hopefully give some folks a little bit of entertainment, maybe a little bit of education, but primarily just some encouragement with the world that we're wading through in 2020. Just glad to join you guys. Thanks for having me.
Now, you're more than welcome. What we're going to do, Jeremy, we're going to just kind of throw some questions at you, have some fun, and like you say, nothing's off limits. So whatever you want to add, you can add lib or whatever you want to go. So we'll let Alec go first. Alec, you want to get us started?
All right, Jeremy, tell everybody who doesn't know who you are, where you played high school ball, then where you went to play college ball at, and then what you're doing now.
Yeah, great question. I appreciate that, Alec. I am a hometown product of Taylor County and proud TC alum, 2002, baby. And which when I say that, that's kind of now we're hitting the stretch here where I'm starting to look a little old when I say that. I'll be 36 this September, mind you. So 2002 graduate of TC, played basketball there, and honestly, the rich tradition there at TC and being a Cardinal, it was something, I had the time of my life growing up there, playing basketball there, being involved with guys like Coach Franklin, Coach McQuarrie. Those folks were mentors and coaches of mine, and teachers even. And now to have the relationship that I have with them, it says a lot about how I enjoy being around them even back then. Went to college at Campbellsville University, had an opportunity to stay at home in Campbellsville and play all 4 years. Had a challenging 4 years there. It did not go as planned, which I think we can all agree as adults here, that the one thing that you can always plan on is that things don't always go as planned, right? And that being said, started college there at CU, and it was a little bit of a rocky start. Maybe I'll share a few details about that here in just a little bit. But finished on a great note. Ended up being the first team to win a Mid-South Conference tournament championship, went to the Sweet 16 in the national tournament. Even had our team picture on the wall for a while until some other team ended up going to the Final Four and even became a semifinalist there. But either way, so great time there. To make a long story short, graduated school at CU, stepped right into a teaching position at Taylor County High School. Pretty cool little plug here. At that time, getting ready to step out of his tenure as the principal at Taylor County High School, Mr. Galen Yarberry, he told me when I graduated, said, Jeremy, if you want to teach and coach, if it's the last thing I do, you will have a job at Taylor County High School. Literally, I was the last teaching contract he signed before stepping down. Crazy how that happened. But stepped into a teaching, coaching position there, taught for a couple years, transitioned to Bowling Green, taught and coached at Warren East for a couple years before I stepped out of teaching and coaching. And I just continue to follow my passion of encouraging people. And now I like to tell folks that I just talk to people. In other words, I'm a public speaker, leadership trainer, personal development coach. That's what I do. That's a little bit about me. Got a beautiful wife named Jayla, a 2.5-year-old son named Miles, who if he gets to acting too crazy because it's past his bedtime, then you might hear him a little bit on tonight's broadcast. But I hope that answers your question, Alec.
Scott?
Well, for those folks out there that may not know, I knew Jeremy when he was a little bitty squirt, which he remained a little squirt for quite some time, if I recall. But Jeremy walks into my 8th grade social studies class, whatever year that was, Jeremy, I can't remember, 1990-something. And He looks at me, which I've known him the whole time at school. He played ball, so I knew him. and he walks in and says, "Hello, Coach Franklin. My name's Jeremy Taylor, and I'm going to be the 8th grade student of the year. I just want you to know that." And I said, "You probably will be." And guess what? I believe you were, weren't you, Jeremy?
Yes, sir. Yes,
That's
sir.
what I thought. That's what
Yeah.
I thought. So he never lacked for confidence, even though he weighed about 62 pounds at that point in time, if I recall, roughly. Jeremy, share with us just a little bit about how you evolved as a basketball player. We'll talk about some other things later, but I remember you obviously, and Coach McQuarrie does very much so, as he coached you more than I certainly did. But I remember when you was a little fella, you had all the ball handling skills and all those things that go along with playing basketball, but you were frail. You were not very strong, so forth. Tell us a little bit how you evolved from that little bitty squirty kid that walked in my room in the 8th grade with a lot of skills, but a very small body, to where you got to play at a pretty dang good level at Campbellsville University. Explain that to us. How did that happen? What happened to you?
That's a great question. I appreciate you asking. And yes, truth be told, I was an unbelievably little guy. I was small. And so, being that size, you had to display a certain level of toughness to stay on the court. And so I think the best way to answer that question, and the easiest way to answer that question, then I'll go into a little detail, is this. I played basketball all the time. I'll say that again. I played ball every opportunity I could. And guess what? I played with guys who were bigger, stronger, and faster than me. That's how my game evolved. Because I learned that at my size, it's one thing to be able to get to the basket and shoot a layup. It's one thing to be able to pull up when you come across half court, shoot a three, or shoot a contested shot. It's another thing to be able to handle yourself in a game with guys who are tough, who are strong, who are physical. And so playing in that environment consistently, day in and day out, which is what a lot of guys don't do anymore. They're very little pickup basketball, the sign of the times. And you got a lot of AAU travel ball. You got a lot of guys who are more worried about the name that's on the back of their jersey at an early age versus the name that's on the front of the jersey and being proud of where they come from. You have a lot of kids that they stay indoors more than getting outside and doing stuff. And so just for me, getting better meant playing basketball as much as I could. And so I took a lot of lumps. I got thrown to the ground. I got banged around. And really what that did over time is it developed a level of toughness that ensured that I could play at the next level, that I could get to the basket and take a hit and get the ball up on the backboard and finish, right? 3-point play the hard way. It ensured that I could handle the ball against guys who were tougher than me. It ensured that I could defend some guys in-line to in-line, baseline to baseline, right, against guys that are bigger, stronger, and faster than me. So I just came to grips with this, Coach, that if I wanted to play at the next level, that if I wanted to really play at a high level, then I had to make a decision that I was going to be able to play against guys that were bigger, stronger, faster. More importantly, I had to be able to defend some of those guys as well. And I knew that if I could handle the ball, I knew that if I could put the ball in the basket, I knew that if I could get other people in position to score and I could play defense, and guess what? At whatever level I played, I could be on the court. I could be on the floor and contribute to the team's success. So I hope that answers your question.
Well, what I remember, Jeremy, and you'll have to help me as I'm almost as old as Mr. McQuarrie, but if I remember right, we were playing at Campbellsville in a holiday tournament. We were playing E-Town, and they were pretty dang good, and we were pretty dang good. And they threw out the dreaded 1-3-1 zone, and you played superbly against that. That was the first time that I thought to myself, you know what, Jeremy, he's on his way to being really good, because we usually had a hard time, no matter how good we were, with the old E-Town 1-3-1. They're good athletes and they're good coach. And I think we won the game, but I'm not 100% sure about that. I just know that you played super well against them when they slapped the 1-3-1 and was able to dissect that. And I thought to myself, you know what? JT's probably got a really good chance. He showed me something here this evening against somebody that we usually struggle with and against a coach we usually struggle with.
Yeah, well, at my size, Coach, to add to that, at my size, I just couldn't play passive. I had to attack when I was on the floor. That's the only way I could stay on the floor, because if I didn't, then what good was I going to do at my size, right? Just truth be told,
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's just that's just the name of the game. Basketball is a game for guys that are 6'2" and above. Period. It's just not made for guys my size. So I had to be tough if I was going to be on the court.
Cool.
I can remember Jeremy, and of course, I had the pleasure of coaching Jeremy in his 7th and 8th grade basketball. And but I can one thing I always admired about you, Jeremy, was the leadership skill that you had at an early age. And I know you didn't realize you had a leadership skill. You're just so competitive that, you know, you hear coaches talk about players that always have a coach on the floor. And, you know, a lot of coaches say that, but they really don't have one there because they're having to do everything. But when you came through and you're the kids that you came through with, I relied on you a whole lot because when we drew up a play or you know, we were trying to accomplish something, you were the first one to get it. And then you could also then, you know, you could kind of direct it and get everybody where they need to go because you kind of got it, you know, and some kids just don't get it. You just have to go teach them step by step where to go, and they just have to memorize it. But I want to take you into your high school career just a little bit. Talk about some of your favorite memories and some of the bigger games that you played in at Taylor County High School, and just kind of take us through your 4 years there and your coaches you played for and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, first couple of years, they were tough, and I say that in reflection of like every level of my playing career, I took my lumps before kind of going out on top, if you will. Now, granted, you know, we weren't good enough to win a region. We were good enough to win a region title my senior year. Come up a little short, yeah. But you know, we ended up my senior year winning the first district championship in 18 years. The previous district championship at Taylor County High School was before the year that I was born. That's crazy, right?
What year would that be, Jeremy?
Well, I was born in '84, so it was like
I lost to Taylor County in the district championship in 1984. By the way, we beat McQuarrie the game before that to send him home.
Oh man, so at the beginning of my high school career, Coach, it was I was a small guy. I had a lot of growing to do. I wasn't very strong, and so I knew that I wasn't going to see any varsity minutes. We had a new coach in town who was hired from out of town, and so he kind of wrestled with wanting to play some of the seniors because they kind of bought their time, if you will. But then also he was torn between, you know, I need to develop a new program, and I probably need these younger guys to get better, so they need to play as well. So I was kind of caught in that mix early on in my career, but it just so happens that the assistant coach at the time, Troy Young, my freshman and sophomore year, ended up becoming the head coach, and I'd already had a great relationship with Coach Young, and you know, had an opportunity to coach with him whenever I joined forces with you guys on the staff after I graduated, and so I have a great relationship with him as well. But through the course of my career, my freshman and sophomore year, we won like a combined total of 5 games at the varsity level. I mean, it was absolutely miserable. It was embarrassing. And I was the kind of kid who, because I was so small and I had taken so many lumps, I was always told, you're not big enough, you're not strong enough, you're not going to make it. And so those losses and those setbacks and those disappointments and those failures, they just fueled my fire. Like, I wanted to get better. I worked on my game in the summertime. I was at the park. I was running uphill sprints. I was getting stronger. I was getting shots up, you name it, doing whatever I could, because I was determined going into my junior year that we were going to make a turn. And we did. And I remember my junior year, we ended up about 500 on the season with our record. But I remember a breakout game. Matter of fact, I'll never forget, in practice just before this game on the road at Bethlehem, Coach told me that I wasn't really going to be able to get off some of the shots that I was getting off in practice against other guys at the varsity level and some of our opponents, because those shots are going to be contested. And honestly, truth be told, it just kind of ticked me off. It lit a fire under my rear end. I was like, I'm going to show him. And so I remember going over to Bardstown, Bethlehem, and dropping my first 20-point game, 27 points on the road there. And that kind of was like the spark that kind of gave me the confidence that, hey, I can do this. Like, we can get better. We can contend. We can compete for a district championship. We can compete for a region championship, yada, yada, yada. So we transition into my senior year, end up beating Campbellsville for the first time at home. Throughout the, you know, I think we had been beat by Campbellsville like the last 12 or 13 consecutive games, like something ridiculous. I'll never forget going into that year, summer camp down at Mississippi State. Oh, my gosh. And listen, rural Kentucky, you guys know that there's only a handful of kids that have skin color, right, is dark or darker than me. And so we go down there, and we're in the deep south in Mississippi, and everybody there is, all the teams are all black. And so our team is kind of intimidated. You guys remember that. They were intimidated, but we grew through that experience. And I'll never forget going into our senior year, like we were so excited to really come in and make some things happen. We had a big win on the road at LaRue County my senior year. I hit a half-court shot to send it into overtime. And that was one of those games that kind of propelled us into that top 2, top 3 team in the region. And we hit this spurt. Here's another thing I remember before I close down is we hit this spurt during the season where we were shooting over 50% from 3 as a team. Guys like Austin Tedder, guys like Jeffrey Gum, those guys were knocking it down. And it seemed like every time I put them in a position to hit a big shot, they did. I was shooting the ball well from 3. I mean, it just kind of seemed like things were hitting on all cylinders. But closing down the season, it was a great year. Came up short in the region tournament against E-Town. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. And one thing that really stood out to me is this. When we finished that game, I remember going into the locker room, and I was crying. I was upset. My high school career was over. And I took my jersey off, and I threw it into the dirty clothes bin, and part of it hung off the side and was touching the ground. And I always kind of got on the guys in the locker room like, hey, guys, let's have some pride in our stuff. Let's have some pride in our locker room. Let's clean up. Let's take care of ourselves. Let's treat this stuff with respect. Let's don't just throw it around. Let's don't trash this place. This is a privilege and an opportunity to play this game, to go to this school, right? And my jersey was hanging off the side of the bin. Adam Burris walks over to the bin. He picks it up. He folds it up neatly and sets it in the bin. And he says, with all due respect, Coach Taylor, call me Coach. He said, you taught us to respect the name on the front of this jersey, and we don't throw our stuff on the floor. It goes in the bin. I love you and thank you for four great years, and I appreciate your leadership. Man, I lost it. Just the tears started flowing. So there's all kinds of moments, man. I remember a lot of different games vividly. I could talk all night about it, truth be told, but I had a great experience. I wouldn't trade any of it for anything. Really wouldn't. And the best part about it, in closing, is this. I got to end my high school career with a coach who exercised integrity, character, class. He really cared about us as young men. He prepared me for life after basketball. He didn't just care about me and the points that I put up and the wins that I helped contribute to the program, and that's really what matters most.
Yeah, hey, Jeremy.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Coach. I'm sorry, Coach. Coach Young's wonderful. One of the nicest human beings I've ever met in my life. One of the finest men I've ever met in my life. I want to elaborate a little bit on Jeremy's experience at Mississippi State because I was there. I'm a firsthand witness. It was great for role reversal for the young people of Taylor County High School in that year. As the only white people that I saw was Phil Cunningham, Rick Stansberry, myself, the other coaches on our staff, and our players. That's it. There was nobody else that was white that we saw the entire week we were there. Would that be right, Jeremy?
Facts.
And it was so great to see our kids and say, whoa, it's just a role reversal for them. As I'm sure it was a great experience for them, great learning experience. And it was a wonderful trip. And I don't know if Jerry remembers, but we watched a guy who got drafted in the top 7, Travis Outlaw from Starkville, Mississippi, about 6'10". Unbelievable. I ain't seen nothing like it.
Yep. It was a great time. It really was. And you're right. It was a role reversal. It was an eye-opening experience, giving our team an opportunity to see things from a different lens, right?
Absolutely.
To go compete with different kids, to be in a different setting. And it showed them that we knew what we learned is that we know how to play basketball.
Yeah.
We know how to play good basketball because straight up, we blistered the nets at camp. Like, we lit some teams on fire, and they didn't expect it because they saw this bus rolling in from Taylor County, Campbellsville, Kentucky, bunch of little white boys that don't know nothing about nothing, and we went in there and held our own. But I do remember we got to play against Travis Outlaw one game, and he drove baseline, and I politely moved out of the way because I was not about to get dunked on by someone who was going to the NBA and be able to say that my claim to fame was I had someone's crotch in my face at team camp going into my senior year.
Jeremy,
go ahead, Paul. My bad.
No, I was just going to ask Jeremy, what was the most points you scored in a ball game?
I closed down with 38 points at home against Campbellsville High School my senior year, and I missed 2 free throws, and it burned me up because I almost hit that 40 mark. But that was the most points I ended up with in a high school ball game.
Paul, before you go to Alec, I just want to tell folks out there, just to give you an example of how big high school basketball is in Kentucky as compared to what it's like in Mississippi. I'm not saying they don't got great players in Mississippi, but we went and played at Starkville High School. They got a guy that's going to get drafted into Mississippi State, but he's going to get drafted in the top 7 in the NBA. Going to their gym was like playing at Campbellsville Middle School, or what I know is Campbellsville Middle School.
Yes.
Three rows of bleachers, none in the end zone. You couldn't have got 150 people in there, and that was their high school gym. And they got a kid going to NBA in the first 7 picks.
Yeah.
Football's all that mattered.
Yep. Alec?
All right. To piggyback off Paul's question, let's take it to the college ranks. Give some of your favorite moments in college, who you played for in college, a couple of guys you played with in college.
Yeah, so one of my first favorite moments in college was playing pickup before college started. Going into my freshman year, we had a couple of guys who had transferred from the D1 level. So we were stacked. Honestly, we were loaded. We were projected to be one of the top teams in our conference. And just to give some people on here who maybe don't know much about the NAIA Division I level, it is ridiculously competitive. Like, there are a lot of guys who transfer down from the Division I level. And traditionally, the Mid-South Conference, which is what I played in, which the conference has been redistricted a little bit. There's some different teams there in the conference versus when I played 02 to 06. But traditionally, we send the most teams from our conference to the national tournament. So that would say that we're typically the best conference, right, in the nation. All that to be said, several guys who were returning, we were going to be really good that year. And we also had a projected potential national player of the year in a guy named Carlos Wheeler out of New Orleans. And this guy was nasty. I'm talking nasty. And so we're playing pickup one day. He goes up, snags a board, hits me on the outlet. I get to the center of the floor. I'm pushing it. And all of a sudden I hear this deep voice that says, "Throw it up." And I look up and I'm thinking, where did that come from? I don't know who said that, but I'm going to walk by faith and not by sight and just throw it up. So I cross the free throw line and toss it up. And here comes Carlos Wheeler trailing the play a couple of steps inside the free throw line, goes up, catches it with 2 hands. 2 guys go up to contest it. And I'm talking flushes it on top of both of them. And I'm thinking to myself, college is about to be real fun because I'm going to drop a lot of dimes thanks to this guy. So I was like, it was one of those reminders that, man, at the college level, you're playing with some guys who know how to play the game, right? They're a different type of athlete. And you have some guys who transfer down to the NAIA Division I level because of some issues at other levels. And all they care about is just grinding and getting theirs straight up, right? So it's crazy competitive. All that to be said, Alec, we had 5 guys who were drug tested and kicked off the team before the season started. And on top of that, Carlos Wheeler decides to leave and go overseas to play ball. So the entire landscape of our team and our season changed overnight. So I was scheduled to redshirt, get a little stronger, get acclimated to the pace of the game. I ended up basically starting the majority of the season, playing 30-plus minutes, and I was dead beat tired at the end of the season. I was worn out, wasn't ready for it. You know, everybody at the college level, right? I'm elbow height with everybody at the college level. And we only won one conference game, and guess who hit the game winner? Yours truly. We only won one conference game that year. We went 1-9 in conference, and I hit the game winner against Lambeth University. And if this tells you anything, Lambeth isn't even a university anymore. They don't even exist anymore, right? So all that to be said, yeah. But I remember like it was yesterday. I remember like it was yesterday playing Georgetown University. They had 3 Division I transfers. All 3 of them were starting, obviously. And I was guarding a guy who I was watching play basketball on TV the year before, and his name was Quentin Bailey from Iroquois High School, and he played at U of L. The ball goes up for the tip. They get the ball down. They win the tip. George Baker, who from Paul Dunbar, played at DePaul University, then transferred back home to finish his career at Georgetown. They call post for Q the first play of the game. Post for Q. I'm thinking post. Post means post up Q, Quentin Bailey. They're going to post up Quentin Bailey. I'm guarding Quentin Bailey. This is not going to be a good day. They give him the ball in the post. He backs me down, hits me with a fresh elbow. I hit the deck. He goes up, finger rolls it, looks down at me and says, "Welcome to college, bleep, bleep." And all I could do is look for my mom in the stands and just try to find a way to crawl up in her lap for the rest of the game because I didn't want any part of that. But ended up having 24 points that game, my first 20-point game in college. But all that to be said, first year we won 9 games, ended up having 2 games forfeited to us because they played guys who were academically ineligible. So we ended up with 11 wins on the season. Woo! In both of those games, we got hammered by 30, mind you. So it was a tough first couple of years. Had a lot of guys come and go. I thought about quitting, honestly, but I decided to stay in the game, and we closed things down. I battled several injuries throughout my college career, but it was a fun ride. It was a fun ride. I still have relationships with a lot of those guys, and I learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about the game, learned a lot about life in the process. And I'm a proud Campbellsville University alum today.
Who was your coach over there, Jim?
Yeah,
Who did you play for?
Keith Atkins. And let me tell you, in the early days, man, that dude was a mean cuss. And he didn't listen. He took it. I guess because I was a hometown kid, because I was a tough kid, I could take it. I wasn't going to leave. I wasn't going to quit on him. Man, he took it out on me. I don't know. It may sound familiar, Coach McQuarrie. That may sound familiar that you took that.
All we did was prayer meeting, Jeremy. It was prayer meeting.
Oh, but Travis Ford had just wrapped up his time at Campbellsville University. Keith Atkins had coached 1 year prior to, and then I stepped in on his second year, and so I played for Keith Atkins all 4 years at CU.
So, and just to kind of jump on that just a little bit, congratulations to Keith Atkins. He is the new Campbellsville High School head men's basketball coach, just announced a few days ago. So congratulations, Keith.
And I love him, and congrats, Coach. But it makes me want to come home and coach with Montreal and kick his rear end in district.
Hey, we can find you a spot.
You know, just talking about Montreal, I mean, there's another small guard who played at Taylor County, you know, that went over there, his competitive nature, grinding it out, was able to play at the university. And again, I think it's important. A lot of people just do not understand because they think because it's in their hometown that it's just maybe a little above the high school level. They don't realize the vast leap it takes to play at any college, not just Campbellsville University, but at any college level and play basketball, because it really goes up. I mean, the level of talent, the level of competition, the level of dedication goes extreme. It just goes out through the roof. And so to go over and watch those guys play every once in a while, of course, I've got the pleasure of my son playing some baseball over there and talking to him just a few minutes ago. He's at batting practice right now. They've got a kid. I don't know where he's from, but he said, I forgot how he put it. He said, "Dad, he's a stud." He said he hits it everywhere. You know, he's just a new guy. You know, so I was like, well, there you go, son. You're going to have to work a little harder if you're going to get to play.
You're right. You're right on the dedication. Just a quick plug there. That's probably the main thing that, you do notice some changes in the game. You do notice that, you know, at this level, everyone is as good as me or better. But the main thing is like, if you want to get better and if you want to play and you want to enjoy a successful, meaningful career, you got to put in the work, because if you don't put in the work, you're going to get exposed. and you're going to get passed up, because that's the name of the game at the next level, is to recruit over you, right? We want to get better. And so that challenge you to work on your game, and it is a different level of dedication for sure.
Absolutely. Scott?
Jeremy, a question about you. I know that you're a competitive guy. You were from the young age. Where did that come from? Is that something that comes from somebody in your family, your mom, your dad? Did it just come because you were a smaller guy and you got tired, like you said? But originally, where do you think that competitiveness comes from?
A combination of all those things. Quick plug on my mom. My mom was the kind of guy, my mom was the kind of gal who didn't take excuses, right? She's just kind of like, hey, listen, you're either going to do it, you're either going to put forth the best effort, or you're not going to do it at all. Matter of fact, I remember coming home one time, and I was complaining about Coach McQuarrie, and I was moping around in a game. And I went after a loose ball, and I was moping because I didn't get the ball, and I was walking back on defense and kind of sulking and whatnot, and I was complaining about Coach McQuarrie, and she put me in my place. She said, "Listen, we're not going to put up with that kind of attitude and effort. Like, you're either going to put forth your best effort, or you're not going to play at all. We're not going to give you money to stay after school and go eat. We're not going to put money in our gas tank and travel to your road games. We're not going to wash that practice jersey after every game. We're just not going to allow it. This is a privilege and an extracurricular activity. You're a student athlete, not an athlete student. You either play the game a certain way, or you're not going to play at all. You don't have to worry about your coach, what he has to say, right?" And so that was one thing.
By the way.
Yeah. And then my dad just he was always this grand example of just toughness and perseverance, just doing right by people, going the extra mile, working a little bit harder, right? He just always provided that kind of example to me, and he was a voice of encouragement. You guys remember Dwight Taylor at all of my games. If you couldn't tell, obviously you can tell that I'm Dwight's son because we look alike. But if you didn't know that I was Dwight's son, you would think that every kid on the team was his son, with the way that he pulled for everybody. And so he just gave me that inspiration, that motivation, that encouragement to keep going. And then lastly, Coach, to make that plug on toughness and where that kind of came from is, like I said, I just kind of knew at an early age that guys my size don't really play a very lengthy career very often, especially coming from a small town like me, like where I come from. And so if I want to be able to say that I played at the next level, then I have to take personal responsibility for doing what it takes, because I'm not going to get any handouts. Like, I'm not blessed with a great jumping ability. I'm not blessed with all this size. I got to put in the work. And but something does come to mind, though, a little bit of intrinsic motivation that really fueled my fire is growing up. We went to the park on Sundays, just like we went to church on a Sunday. Every Sunday afternoon, when weather permitted, we played there. And every time, because I was little at the time, and everyone was always worried about me not being tough enough, not strong enough. I was going to get hurt. And so I would say, "I got next." And they'd say, "No, you're too small. You're too small." And I'll never forget, the person who always told me I was too small was a guy by the name of Boogie Johnson.
That's Paul Boogie Johnson.
Paul Boogie Johnson.
With the sweet left-handed bank shot from anywhere, man.
He'd always say, "Listen, little Dwight, you too little to be out here. You going to get hurt. You ain't got next, right? You ain't going to play." So every time I got on the floor, it was like every time I got on the court, I was fighting to prove to them that I can play with you guys. Like, I can hold my own. And then through the course of that time playing, I ended up playing with guys like Montrell Irvin. And when you got a guy like Montrell Irvin guarding you, right, baseline to baseline, I had to learn how to take care of the basketball. And then you got guys like Kenyon Rice, like Danon Haskins, those guys at Campbellsville who played for Tim Davis, who was trapping people all over the court. They come out, they get their team of 5, they come on the court. They were playing just like they were playing in a high school game. So I had to learn how to play against that. And it was kind of one of those things that if I can't play against this, then I should probably hang it up, because I'm probably not going to be able to play at the next level. So that's where a lot of that toughness come from. Really just getting knocked down all the time and having to learn how to get back up and fight for myself.
Well, Jeremy, I want to talk about your successes off the court for just a little bit. is obviously you talked about your brown skin there and all that good stuff, but some people might not know you coming from a mixed background. Your mom is white and your father black. And so, but I don't think anybody has ever, I've never heard it. If somebody's ever said that you have used your position in society as an excuse. I mean, you have always exuded positivity, and you've always, and with that, so I want you to springboard with that into what you do now, because I think we need to get that plug in for you in your business and all that good stuff. And so kind of how your life has evolved as a young mixed man in America.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think it's relevant, obviously, with the times that we're living in, and it's a topic that a lot of people have mixed emotions and opinions about, because it's kind of like if you say one thing, then people think that you're being insensitive to maybe another idea or another view, because whatever conversation that we're having in America today, it seems like it's so polarizing that. If I go on social media and say, man, I love me some cheese pizza, it's almost like the rest of the world says, are you saying that pepperoni pizza sucks? No, that's not what I'm saying. that's not what I said. Yeah. And so to get, back to the question, Coach, my parents taught me I'm born in 1984 to a black man and a white woman in rural Kentucky. And so therefore they dealt with some issues. There were some opinions. There were some stances that folks had where they had to wrestle through some tough stuff together and decide if they were gonna duke it out and really stand by one another. Long story short, my parents ended up separating, not because of those issues, but just personal issues that they went through. But my parents divorced when I was 5 years old, and so on top of being biracial, now I have a broken blended family, if you will. And so it was difficult, but from an early age, despite the skin color, despite the not having my mom and my dad in the home at the same time, I never lacked for love. That's the main thing. I never lacked for love. I never, ever, ever, ever felt like I had a dad who didn't care about me, or I had a mom who didn't care about me. I knew that they loved me unconditionally, and that was the game changer for me. That was the game changer, and that was the thing that kind of set the tone for my life, that says I can be proud of who I am as a biracial man in America. I don't have to worry about what other people think about my skin color. But my parents did say, hey, listen, Jeremy, you're going to run into a few idiots. You're going to meet a few people who think a particular way and who have a few ideas about the world and what they think about you. But listen, you don't have to live your life based on what those people think about you. And so they created this space, this safe space of being able to talk about that if necessary. But they also reminded me that in no way, shape, form, or fashion is it okay for you to use that, as you said, as an excuse, or every time something doesn't go your way, or every time you don't get what you want, for you to be able to say it's because of this, right? It's because the world says this, I'm being cheated out of opportunity. So they just kind of help cultivate this healthy respect and reverence for life and pursuing the life that God had called me to. And more importantly, helping me see my identity in Christ before seeing my identity as a biracial male, seeing my identity as an athlete, as a teacher, as a speaker, as a coach. They help me see that I am an image bearer of God before all that other stuff. So what someone thinks about me based on my skin color, man, I could care less about that, right?
Talk about what you do, and I know we have hosted you a few times, but if other people want to get a hold of Jeremy, so Jeremy, I'll let you do the PR here.
Yeah. So Taylor Leadership Development, that's the name of the brand. Speaker, trainer, and coach. I was a teacher and coach at the high school level, teaching social studies, coaching basketball. I had a little stint where I coached a little volleyball as well, but we can't go into detail about that. Life-changing experience, to say the least. But all that to be said, through the course of my public education career, I had this inspiration to go out and pursue a couple of entrepreneurial, endeavors. Part of that being network marketing, part of that being e-commerce and retail sales online. But all that to be said, through all of the opportunities that I've had, all the jobs that I've done, I just had this passion for encouraging people. And so when I stepped out of teaching and coaching, I started getting invited back into schools to talk to classrooms, to talk to sports teams, to talk to faculty and staffs. And that just kind of evolved. And so long story short, launched a speaking career in 2014. And since then, I've had the privilege and the pleasure of traveling not only across the state, but across the country to work with schools, churches, sports teams, businesses, you name it, corporations, events, right, conferences, and share keynotes, workshops, and what have you. So I have a passion for leadership, personal growth and development, team building.
I actually saw you talking to a SWAT team one time.
Yeah.
Department. That was cool.
Yeah. So,
so what do you tell a bunch of police officers in heavy riot gear?
I ask them to not look up any of my criminal background. I'm just joking because I'm good. But it's an intimidating situation. Yeah. So just what I've learned is that even in that space with that group of people, just trying to relate to them as human beings.
Yeah.
Because that would be my overarching message, is that at the end of the day, we're all searching for meaning. We all want to live a life on purpose. We all want to make a difference. And so I just enjoy encouraging people to connect their purpose with their work, stay encouraged, stay inspired, and remember that through their work, they have the ability to influence their small corner of the world. And so work isn't just work. It's your way of influencing lives for the better.
Well, Jeremy, we're running out of time here, brother.
Hey, Paul, real quick.
Go ahead, Alex.
Jeremy, plug your book real quick. I know you got a book, correct?
Yeah. It's entitled Dream, acronym DREAM, Dare, Risk, Excitement, Action, Momentum. And the focus of that book is just encouraging people to remember that we have a passion, we have a purpose, continue to move toward that. And fulfilling a dream, it does take time, and you have to buy into the process. You can find that at jeremyataylor.com. That's my website. You guys are more than welcome to follow me, anyone listening, on any social platform, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I don't take lightly the opportunity and responsibility to share content that encourages people. I don't go on a bunch of rants, right? On social media, I try to keep it real, try to keep it positive. So yeah, that's where you can find my book. That's where you can find the majority of my content.
Well, Jeremy, thank you for coming on tonight, the Hatcher Auto Sales Fab Four podcast. And we certainly look forward to continuing to follow your future endeavors and listening to your words of encouragement as we go along. And I'm sure at some point you'll be back in Taylor County speaking to some group at some point at our schools. And so we look forward to seeing that. And again, thank you for coming on tonight, and we wish you nothing but the best in the future.
No doubt. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you, JT.